So I had just barely tried to make it up one of these trails. You can see my tire marks up one of them. It ended up being pure ice and I slid all the way down. And here I'm just trying to decide what to do. I end up giving it another go and it doesn't work out very well for me. Ended up being a big mistake. So if you want to see what happens, just stay tuned. You can fast forward if you want. But here I'm just letting the dogs stretch out a little bit. The intent of this trip was to do an overnight winter camp out. And so I packed a bunch of food and my super warm sleeping bag and everything. I was even going to do like a cooking segment. But anyway, the ice threw a wrench and all of that. So I'm just kind of enjoying the scenery with the dogs here for a little bit.
Cinder. Hey. Good girl. Good girl. Come here. Jaxie. Hi, Cindy.
Believe it or not, I was actually out here on my dirt bike about a week before the snow came in. Here you can see the dogs found Bambi's legs frozen in the snow. Might even be Rudolph, I don't know, but they started gnawing on it a little bit. But anyway, I'll get him back in the truck and we'll start trying to make the way up to the campsite. But spoiler, we are not going to make it. So with some momentum, I was able to make it up this segment of the trail, and I figured since I made it up that, I should be able to make it up the rest of the way. I couldn't remember how steep it was to get up to where I was going, but I kept the momentum and tried to make it as far as I could. Around this bend here, it got pretty rocky, so we were kind of bouncing around quite a bit. But I could feel the tires starting to lose traction the further I went up the hill. So I'm kind of just, I'm in low range, second gear, revving it out pretty good. I tried to just keep that speed going. You can see the banks on the side are pretty steep. So at this point I'm kind of past the point of no return. I know I won't be able to turn around if I can't make it up all the way. So things are gonna start getting interesting right about here.
Stay.
So you can see it's just solid ice underneath that snow, which I already knew, but I was dumb enough to keep going. You can see I slid back at least 20 feet or so. Luckily I was able to come to a stop, but I was still on a thick layer of ice. There was no way that I could move forward or try to turn around. at this point I wasn't sure if I'd be able to move at all, but it's just more ice down and it even gets steeper, so I was kind of at a loss as to what to do from this point. Rolling back that, or not rolling, sliding back that 20 feet was not a good feeling. I knew that if I caught one of the banks, the truck would probably flip, and it gets even narrower as you go down. So I kind of just assessed the situation and did a little brainstorming and let the dogs out for a little break.
What are you doing out here?
So at this point I figured my only option was to creep down the hill and hope I didn't start sliding again. And I was going to try to kind of hug the side. I thought maybe I could get more traction or find some debris that could catch me if I started to slide, but I really couldn't steer at all on the way down. I thought about letting the dogs out just because I didn't want them in the truck if I were to roll it or slide all the way down to the edge of that cliff. So I considered letting them out, but I didn't want them to be behind the truck and me not have control of it either. So I decided we'd just all go down together and hope for the best. So when I started up the trail the first time, I had lowered my tire pressure from its normal 35 to about 25. And here I lowered it from 25 to about 15 or so, hoping that that would give me a little bit more grip on the way down. And I think it actually made a lot of difference. In fact, I think if I had started with the 15 psi, I probably would have made it to the top. But here I'm just kind of going painfully slow down, and the dogs had fogged up the rear view out the back window, so I was poking my head out the window to see where I was going, and really it didn't matter how I turned my wheels or anything. I was just kind of stuck in the rut, and I even started to climb up the side of the bank. It didn't quite get it on film, it's just further down from here, but if I had hit that with any speed, it would have been really bad news. So I'm just going to keep creeping my way down, hoping that I don't pick up any speed as I go. So from this view you can kind of see how steep it was. I was just going painfully slow down and trying not to lock up the brakes or get going too fast. If I look like I'm not very stressed out, believe me, I was freaking out a little bit going down here. It's the worst feeling when you just when it just cuts loose and there's nothing you can do. But here I'm just going to set up the tripod to show the rest of the way down. You can see the sun's about setting, and I only had probably 35 or 40 minutes from that first slide up there to get down before dark, so I was kind of in a rush. But you can see here it gets pretty rocky, and I felt like I'd be able to slow down enough to back up and turn myself around forward. So I actually sped this clip up just to make it quicker, but I wasn't gonna take any chances.
Stay. Break.
I actually felt pretty bad for the dogs. They didn't get to run around nearly as much as they would have if we'd camped up there, and they had to sit in the truck the whole time trying to get down. So I took them out for a little walk before heading home. But if you don't follow the channel, these are my two Dutch Shepherds, Jax and Cinder, and we do quite a few videos together. Normally we actually make it to our destination and we camp out and do all sorts of things like that. But here I'm coming to that first initial one that I slid back the first time, and I ended up going down it in first gear, just creeping all the way down, no brake, and it stuck to it like glue. So I really think the 15 psi was the the ticket there. And if you're wondering, the tires that I have on my truck are the Falcon Wild Peak all-terrains, and they're actually snow peak rated, so they're pretty good in the snow. If you watch this video, don't think that my tires were bad or anything. They're less than a year old. But anyway, we made it out, and we're able to head home. So hopefully things will warm up and we'll be able to recreate the video that I had in mind. So thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and if you like this type of thing, consider subscribing.